Hello, my name is Brian and I own a small computer repair shop in South Florida, and today we are going to clean the cooling system on an HP 2000 notebook PC or laptop PC. And essentially this is a consumer model that has Windows 8 on it, and they're known for overheating, so we're going to dive right in. So first and foremost, let me just go over some tools that we're going to need. 3.5mm magnetic tip screwdriver, super handy. You could get one of these in an eyeglasses kit. They're probably not magnetically tipped. If you need some help on making it a magnetic tip, I have a video that you can click on, and I'll post it right here, so you can click on it. And then a couple other tools that are handy. These are black sticks or spudgers. It's an Apple tool, non-marring tool that we use to pry things, move things. Those are handy. Like to have a dental tool, metal dental tool, just in case something gets stuck. Like to have an X-Acto knife, a blade, Sharpie marker, may or may not need that. Another razor blade, like a standard razor blade for scraping thermal paste, and some actual thermal paste. This is X15. It's thermal compound. I buy this on Amazon or eBay in bulk. You can get it anywhere, like Best Buy or Radio Shack. And some cotton swabs, alcohol prep swabs. These have isopropyl alcohol, 70%. I get these at CVS or Walgreens or any sort of corner drugstore have these. And they're really handy to have around the house or shop. Can of compressed air, that's always useful. And you see this white mat right here. This is a static mat, which means it does not conduct static electricity. I work on this now. I haven't always worked on static mats, but I live in South Florida where the humidity is really high, so that's not such of a concern. If you're watching this video and you may be someplace where it's cold or it's very dry, you should consider working on an anti-static surface. Okay, let's get started. We're going to go ahead and remove the battery, set that aside, and the rule of thumb with these is we are going to pull every screw on the bottom panel that we can see. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to actually open up this panel first. Pull this apart. One thing I forgot to mention is my little bin. I keep this bin right here. It's like a organizational bin. I get these at Home Depot or Lowe's for like $2, and then I put labels on them so I keep myself organized. I've done this thousands of times, and I don't care to remember where I put my screws. It's just one less thing that I actually have to remember. So you may also want to take that as a tip and do that. I've seen some people that have they use like a Coke bottle, like plastic Coke bottle lids, and then they glue them to a piece of cardboard or plastic, and they'll use that as their organizational tool. Hey, whatever works, okay? Alright, so this is the RAM chip. We're going to go ahead and pop that open. We're going to use our spudgers for that. Pull out the RAM. It goes in the bucket. This is our Wi-Fi card. Pop off using your spudger non-marring tool. This is the antenna wire. I'm going to go ahead and pull the screw for that. Magnetic tip holds the screw, very useful. Wireless card comes out. Seats there. We've got two more screws for the hard disk panel. Take those off. Those screws actually don't come off. They're held in to the panel itself. And we're going to set this aside, and this is going to expose the hard drive. And it looks like this is one of those hard disks that's sort of held in by a rubber mount, and then you just pull this tab and it pulls the entire assembly right straight out, which is useful. Makes that pretty simple. And you can see there's another tab right here for something else. ODD. Not exactly sure what that stands for. Mostly display, but we'll see. Anyhow, so now we've got all these screws that we're going to now need to take out. One's pretty important. We want to pull the CD-ROM screw. and we're going to slide the CD round right straight out. So this CD round screw goes in the CD bin, and then we'll just go ahead and pop the CD out, and it comes straight. Oh, that's the optical drive. Duh. Okay. That's what that cable's for. ODD. Okay. And now we've got a couple more screws down here. I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video while I remove every screw that I can get to on the bottom panel. Okay, we've now pulled every screw that we can see on the bottom of this panel. Notice how I've gone over it a couple of times, and that's because I always miss a screw. It's true, I miss one, and it's possible that I've missed one here, but let's hope not. So, and these laptops actually are quite interesting. Once you pull all these screws off, the next step is actually to remove this keyboard. And this can get a little bit tough to do. And that's why I like these dental tools, because these keyboards actually have like a little tab that you have to push to sort of release. It's kind of hit or miss. You can get your screwdriver down there, push in that tab, and then it's supposed to pop up. So. Okay, now we got our keyboard to pop up there. I'm going to go ahead and flip this little tab and pull our keyboard straight out. Set that aside. And now we've got some other screws here that we need to remove. This is going to take off the top panel. Okay. One of the things I like to do before I get too much further is go ahead and handle all of these little ribbon cables. So that's going to take that out of the equation, so when I pull up on everything it won't yank anything out. Here's we may not be able to get to that one. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull every screw that we can find underneath this keyboard tray, in the keyboard tray. This ribbon cable right here is actually glued down to that top panel. Just be aware of that. It looks like you got to pull the whole top panel before you can go much further with that. So we're going to go ahead and, this is a silver screw, it's a little bit different, so I'm going to take my Sharpie marker and just make a little dot, but that's an M2 by 4 screw, and the rest of these are M2.5 by 4, so it's a little bit different. So that's what the Sharpie marker's for, in case you were wondering. And now we're actually going to remove this entire top panel. This is where the non-marring tool comes in pretty handy. Just need to separate those little clasps there. The whole top panel comes off. And this is the reason why we weren't actually able to get that power cable off, is there's a piece of tape on there. So we're going to go ahead and peel back the tape. Lift this little lid, and now we have removed our top panel. We set that aside. Alright, so we've got some other interesting things going on here that we should take care of in the meantime. We're going to go ahead and pull this LCD and get that out of the way. You really can't, you could do this job without pulling the LCD, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to leave it there, because it's kind of just in your way and it's going to keep tilting the whole thing. So as an ease of use type situation, you're going to go ahead and unscrew the 4 screws for the hinges. Magnetic tip screwdriver comes in handy there. And then you're going to want to pull this cable for the LCD. And there's a piece of adhesive tape that you want to peel back first and then slide this out. I missed a screw, couldn't see it. There's 5 screws. Excuse me. And now we've got lift off. And also that comes with it is our antenna for the wireless. Just fish that up through. Take note of where that wire was fished as well. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. So now we're left with basically the bare bones of our laptop. You know, we're quite deep into this thing, and it wasn't that tough. I mean, we're only a few minutes into this, and we're already down to the motherboard. We're not done yet, though. So we need to actually get to this cooling fan and clean it, and then we also need to replace the thermal paste. So we're going to go ahead, take this external USB cable off. We're going to look around for any other cables. This is the speaker connector. Take that apart. And we've got a couple of screws. Again, I'm going to take my Sharpie marker and make a mark. And I have a screw right there, and I have a screw right there. You see, you've got a lot of, oh, there's another one here. You've got a lot of places where screws could potentially go, but they don't actually go in the sequence. So I placed those dots on the copper there so you can see it. When you're reassembling it, you don't even have to think. You just go, oh, I see a dot. That means I must need a. I need a screw there. So go ahead and figure out. Now I'm just doing some gentle tugging here to figure out how this whole assembly comes out. Okay. Because these motherboards, oh, power cord. That's the problem. Technically, this whole power cord can come with it, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay. Our bottom panel. Be set aside now. If you're all the way down into this thing, if you were replacing the power jack, which is this piece right here, you would just go ahead and unplug it from this plug and find the part number, order it, and replace it. You're already down into this thing that far, and you needed that, and say this was loose or not charging, you might as well do that as well. In this case, we're actually in here to go ahead and fix the overheating issue on this laptop. So that's why we're here, and that's why we're going to go ahead and move forward. All we have left now in this process is to take and remove this fan . Okay. And we are going to also remove the heatsink. Actually, the heatsink and the fan look like they're all kind of one. So we're going to go ahead and remove this heatsink. 4 screws, and they don't come out. They're spring loaded. They're going to stay right with the whole unit. And we are going to lift up, and there's our cooling system. Now we're going to take this opportunity to blow this one clean. And this is the CPU here. We're going to take our black stick and we're going to scrape away this thermal paste. This thermal paste is actually in really good shape for what it is. Grab a paper towel here. This thermal paste is not in bad shape, but the reason why we're actually going through all this is that the client had dropped this laptop and a piece of plastic had lodged itself inside of the fan. And so we got rid of that, and actually I heard it fall out while I was doing the process. So now we're going to take our alcohol swab and we're going to clean the processor with alcohol. And the reason we use alcohol is because it dries quickly, okay? And we aid that drying. A little bit of compressed air. And then we're going to also go ahead and use our big old fat razor blade and remove the excess thermal paste, thermal compound. Very gently, because copper is a soft metal. Okay, we don't want to scratch it. Just want to clean it as if you were cleaning a window. And then take a alcohol swab and go ahead and clean that whole thing, and that's good. Okay. If you're wondering, this is the GPU, the graphics processor, and it looks like it's okay, so we're going to go ahead and leave it in place, and not that we can do much with it anyway, I guess. And now we're going to reapply some thermal paste. I use this X15. Arctic Silver is good too. There's all kinds of stuff that you can use. In this case, we're going to use X15, and I'm going to use the grain of rice method, which means I'm going to recreate a grain of rice right on top of the processor cooling stand. So here we go. Grain of rice, and we're done with that. Now we're going to set our cooling system right back on top, and you'll notice there's some numbers right by these screws. That's the order in which you're going to tighten them. So that's screw number 1. This is screw number 2. Screw number 3. And screw number 4. The reason we do that is because we're setting this thing down, and mechanics will understand this. Like when you're putting a head back onto a car, you do it in an X pattern so that it evenly seats the whatever it is that you're seating down. It evenly meshes out all the cooling paste, and like for a gasket or whatever it might be, that's the way to do it. And in this case, they number. Alright, now we're going to do something very important. Please don't forget to go ahead and plug in your fan, because that will not be good. You will end up frying your machine if you don't keep the fan plugged in. Actually, the machine will recognize that the fan's not plugged in, and it'll tell you. And a majority of these videos that I make, I get a lot of responses and comments, and somebody will say, well, I did exactly what you did, and now I turn on my machine and it says that the fan's not running, or it says there's I have a black LCD, or it says disk not found. 90% of the time, I'd hedge my bet and say 95% of the time that happens, it's because you forgot to plug something back in, such as the fan or the hard drive or the LCD. So just make sure that you're taking note of what you're doing and going slow. There's no reason you have to go fast. We're not in any rush. Just take it easy and move forward at a good pace so you don't forget anything. And believe it or not, I forget myself, so don't feel bad if you do it. Okay, so now we're going to place our motherboard back into the bottom panel. We're going to place our power plug back. We're going to plug in our USB over here. Got that done, and now I'm going to go ahead and, oh, you know what? You're done telling you that, you don't forget something, don't forget something. I have a feeling I forgot something. Hold on. There was a screw holding this fan in, and we don't want to forget it. So, duh. That's irony in of itself, isn't it? Okay, so we've got that screw in now. Alright, so let's place this back in, and notice how I'm kind of placing it in at an angle, and then I'm laying it back down like so, okay? And it's going to pop into place. We're going to go ahead and let's get our cable rerouted here, and plugged in, and seat that. Okay, now all I have to do is look at my my black dots and say I've got to put a screw right here. Got it. Put a screw right here. Got it. And I got one more screw in that bin, and I got it. In case you were wondering what the label was on those screws, it's called interior. I have a bin that in my organizer that just says interior, and that means any screws that come out of the interior on the motherboard then find their home there, okay, into that space. Okay, and notice I also plugged in the speakers. If you forget to do that, you won't have any sound. That would be bad. Okay. Now let's see, where are we at? We're going to put our LCD back on. Alright. These LCDs you kind of have to fish down in, depending on the angle of the hinge there. Angle it back down in. And don't have to worry so much about the Wi-Fi wire just yet. We're going to go ahead and get a screw in each side. And then we'll concern ourselves with all that stuff. You can see that little tight space that I got my screwdriver into right there with my magnetic tip on my screwdriver. That makes that really simple because a lot of times you actually aren't going to have an extra set of hands to do this, and to have a magnetic tip, it's almost like actually having another set of hands, which is nice. So that's why I say go for that magnetic tip, and you can do it with like pretty much any household item. If you watch that other video I have on how to do it, it's actually really kind of cool. The process and the science behind it is actually really neat. Okay. This cable is routed somewhere. They kind of look. It's got to pop out there. Totally doable. I need to pull this USB cable, just give us a little bit of room. Fish it back down in. Again, take your time while doing this. No need to rush. So now we've got our USB or a Wi-Fi cable plugged back in, so that we're good to go there. And here's an important one: our LCD cable needs to be plugged back in, right? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and plug that back in and reapply the tape. And then also, while you're doing this, you just want to notice that the cables have various routes in which they are supposed to be, and if you don't follow that, you will have a bad time trying to get your machine to go back together. So don't rush, don't just yank, don't just pull. You want to kind of pay attention. And but I am one of those people that believes that anybody can do this type of work as long as they have the they have a tactile technical sense. I mean, a mechanic would probably have no trouble with this, and even somebody that's, you know, science-based, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I think they'd have a pretty okay time with this. Alright, so now we're putting the lid on, and just double checking. I'm just going through and looking. My USB cable's plugged in. My power cable's plugged in. Is it lined up over there? Yeah, it's lined up. Everything looks good. The LCD is plugged in. I'm just double checking all of that because I don't want to have to take this apart again. I want to be done with this job when it's done. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and lay the top panel down. We're going to snap it all back together. Snap, snap, snap. Oh, you know what? Probably be easier to put that power ribbon cable in with this top panel up. So let's go ahead and do that. It would be possible to do it without this lid on, but I think it's going to be easier to do it this way. And I think that's the reason why they actually give you this much ribbon cable, is so that you can fish it down through here, right? Fish it down through here. Lift this little lid on that ribbon cable. Push it in and clasp it down, and then while you're doing this, pushing it down, you feed the remainder back through. I think that's the thought behind engineering it that way, was that it'd be easier to reassemble that way. And it was. Okay. Now we can clap this down. Okay. Let me go ahead and put this other ribbon cable in so we don't forget. And now, excuse me, I had a little bit of an allergy issue lately. We're going to go ahead and put all the screws back. And last but not least, we have our M2x4 final remaining screw that was unique to the rest of them, and I put my little black dot there so I knew where I was at. Okay, now we're going to plug in our cable for our optical drive. It can go back in. Probably should put the keyboard back in at this point, I guess. Oh, screw. Okay. Go ahead and put the keyboard back in. And this just snaps into place. Put our CD-ROM back in. Oops, don't bad the right way. Clips in. Screw for that in my CD bin. Okay. And I have 2 screws in my hard drive bin, and that's because there's actually 2 places for screws inside of the container where the hard drive went. So just go ahead and use that. The rest of these are bottom panel screws, so we're going to go ahead and replace all of those. And then we had two very tiny screws in the battery tray. I actually have a bin in my organizer called battery tray. So those in, place the RAM. Place the Wi-Fi card. Plug in your antenna for your Wi-Fi. This is your hard drive. Goes in place. Cover panel for that. See the broken plastic there. A little piece of that had wedged down into one of the fans. And then we're going to go ahead and put the battery in. No screws left over. Notice how nice that is. And I don't know if this thing has any juice or not. Probably not. Ah, the fan is spinning. Very good. Alright. There she goes. So, what we've done here today is a full dismantle on this laptop and brought it back to life. Fan was clogged with a piece of plastic. Most times you would do this if the fan was being hindered by dust. The thing was overheating, and you wanted to replace or repair that. Please like my videos. Please subscribe if you're into computer repair. You want to learn more about this industry. I do a lot of help videos, self-help tech videos, do-it-yourself type stuff, and it could be useful to you. I really appreciate you watching. Thanks so much, and please subscribe.